AITA for refusing to return my mom's things after my dad and his wife threw them in the trash. I never imagined that something as simple as a box of old, worn-out things could turn my entire world upside down. It's strange, isn't it? How the smallest moments in life can reveal the deepest emotions that you didn't even know existed inside of you. I've always been a pretty calm person, not the type to get caught up in arguments or conflicts. But this felt like a violation so deep that I didn't know how to breathe, let alone how to react. It all started with the way my dad kept my mom's things after she died. She passed away when I was just 10 years old. 10. Too young to process grief in the way an adult might, but old enough to understand that my world had been torn apart. I remember the day she died as if it were yesterday. Everything stopped. My mom, the center of my universe, was suddenly gone. There were no warning signs, no chance to say goodbye. Just an emptiness that would never go away. For the first few years after her death, I think my dad was in as much shock as I was. But slowly, he started holding onto the pieces of her that remained. Her wedding rings, which he wore on a chain around his neck, her collection of postcards that she had started collecting when she was a little girl, the perfume bottle she'd used every day, and her favorite stuffed animal. Those are the things that reminded him of her. They weren't just things, they were memories. They were the only parts of her that we had left. The idea of losing them, of giving them away, terrified me. I don't know if my dad even realized how much those items meant to me, but I know he kept them because they helped him feel connected to her. He wasn't ready to let go of her yet, and I understood that. It wasn't just about remembering her. It was about holding on to the love and the life they shared. And for me, those things were everything. They were my way of remembering her, my way of feeling like she was still here with us, even though she was gone. Then came Sarah. She entered our lives almost 3 years ago when my dad remarried. To say I was hesitant about her would be an understatement. I didn't hate her, but I didn't love her either. How could I? She wasn't my mom. She didn't understand what it felt like to lose someone like that. To lose a mother. It was hard for me to accept that my dad, who had been so devoted to my mom, could move on so easily. But I kept my thoughts to myself for the most part, figuring that they were adults and I didn't have much say in the matter. But Sarah, she never seemed to understand the importance of my mom's things. And maybe that was something I never fully grasped either, the fact that Sarah was never going to be my mom. She wasn't the one who had wiped my tears away when I was younger, or who had helped me pick out my first dress for a school dance. She wasn't the one who'd kissed me goodnight every night. Sarah wasn't those things, and I couldn't shake that feeling that she was trying to erase my mom from our lives. I could tell, even from the beginning, that she was uncomfortable with how much my dad clung to the past. I saw her subtle glances at the wedding pictures of my parents, the way she would pick up one of my mom's old cookbooks and shake her head, like she was disgusted by it. I didn't say anything, but I could feel her judgment, like a shadow hanging over the room. I hated it, but I didn't know how to express that. I didn't know how to tell her that my mom was a part of me and always would be. And then it happened. Last month, things came to a head in a way I never thought possible. I had just come home from school one afternoon when I noticed the strange smell of garbage wafting through the house. I thought it was odd, but I didn't think much of it. That is, until I walked into the living room and saw Sarah standing there with a pile of my mom's things I'd seen for years, things that had once been filled with so much life, being thrown into garbage bags like they were nothing. I froze. My heart stopped. My entire world seemed to shift in that moment. I could feel the blood rushing to my ears, and my hands started to shake. It felt like everything I'd held dear, everything I'd used to keep my mom close, was being ripped away from me. I wanted to scream, to cry, but I couldn't. My voice wouldn't come. How could you? I whispered, my voice barely above a breath. I don't even know if anyone heard me. Sarah was busy tossing my mom's perfume into a bag, and my dad was just standing there, staring at her with a look of resignation. He didn't argue. He didn't even look at me. It felt like he had already made his choice, and I was nothing more than a stranger in my own house. The realization hit me harder than I could ever have imagined. He was letting it happen. He was letting Sarah erase my mom from our lives. I wanted to stop them. I wanted to grab the things and run away with them. But something inside me snapped. This wasn't just about things. This was about her. This was about us, about the memories we had left. If they took these things, I felt like they would take her memory from me, too. Without thinking, I ran out to the backyard and started gathering everything I could. My mom's rings, the postcards, the stuffed animal, the keychain, the perfume. I grabbed it all. I couldn't let them throw it away. They didn't understand what they were doing. These things were my connection to her. They were the only thing I had left that still felt real. I don't know how long I stood there, clutching everything to my chest, but eventually I ran to my aunt's house. I didn't even ask if it was okay. I just needed to get out. I needed to protect what was mine, what was left of my mom. I didn't know what would happen next, but I couldn't just stand there and let them destroy everything that mattered. 2 days later, Sarah figured out that the items were gone. She was furious, and I could hear her voice shaking with anger when she confronted me. She called me a thief, said I was disrespecting my dad and her, that I was ruining everything. But I didn't care. I couldn't care. They had no idea what they had taken from me. My dad's eyes were filled with disappointment, but there was no understanding in them, no sign that he saw what had really happened. I'm not giving it back, I told him. It's not yours to take. Sarah's face turned red with anger. You don't get to decide what happens in this house, she shouted. I'm your stepmother, and you'll respect me. But I couldn't respect her. I couldn't. Not when she was the one trying to erase my mom from everything. Not when she didn't understand that some things are sacred, that some memories should never be thrown away. I don't need you to be my stepmother, I said. You'll never be my family. You're just my dad's second wife, and you'll never be good enough to take my mom's place. I saw the hurt flash in my dad's eyes, but I didn't care. I couldn't care. He was choosing her. He was letting her dictate how we remembered my mom, how we grieved her. And I couldn't just sit there and let it happen. So I refused. I stood my ground. And now, here I am, stuck in a battle between what's right and what they want. They keep trying to convince me to give everything back, but I won't. And at this point, I don't care what the consequences are. I'll leave if I have to, but I won't give up my mom's memory. So, AITA for refusing to return my mom's things?